Hey, Tony from Summit K-12 here, and today I want to talk specifically to our biology teachers. Biology teachers, I want to make sure you know what you have at your fingertips to help prepare your students for the Biology STAAR. Fifth and eighth grade teachers, you have a similar product and your videos are coming soon. Yours is not completely open yet. Watch for your video really soon. Biology teachers, when you log into your dynamic science, you'll notice that the bottom portion is currently unlocked. This is our star review piece. What would you say if I told you you had access to a star review piece that would personalize learning for every student, provide you with resources for whole group instruction, data for whole group instruction, data for small group instruction, and resources for small group instruction, and that everything in the system, with the exception of short constructive responses, was graded for you automatically and pushed out to students automatically? You would say, oh my gosh, I don't even believe this is true, but it is. So let me show you how to get to it. When you log in, go down to the bottom portion. You'll see that there are 4 buttons here, 5 counting the reports. This is your practice EOC. So let's pull this up and notice that you can assign it to students today if you wanted to. Let's look at the preview. It is a complete practice test. It has 45 questions. It covers all readiness and supporting STAR questions. It covers all different question types. Notice that for teachers, the text to speech is turned on. What is also turned on are your language and content supports, right? If I hover over stable or click on stable, it gives me a definition. Now that only shows up for students when you turn on that accommodation. That's your content and language support accommodation. Let's flip through a few of the questions. Excellent stimulus with a picture and some data. A short text entry question. Application of a graph. Codon chart. Well, we're not going to flip through all these questions. You could do that, but notice you have all of your tools here, just like they'll have in STAR. You have text to speech when you turn that on for students. You have language and content supports when you turn those on for students. Let me show you how to turn those on. I'm going back to my course. And remember, this is attached to your main course. So in your main course, under Manage, go down to Accommodations. I'm at Manage and Accommodations. I show my students. I could turn on text to speech. I could turn on content and language supports. Text to speech shows up for all of our assessments, including the assessments in the regular course. Content and language supports only show up for the STAR practice placement assessment. They don't show up in the regular course, just for your information. So back to the course, here's where we assign it. Let me show you the reports. The reports here, oh my gosh. I'm going to click on reports. I'm going to go down to STAR Readiness. First report, EOC STAR Practice Test. This will show you your students, how they scored for each reporting category, what their composite score is. SE Performance. So this will show you for each class by reporting category and standard what their percentage mastery is. So you could see for each reporting category how well they did on each SE. You can use this when you're separate for each class period that you access to determine what your whole class instruction should be and how it could be differentiated based on that data. Student distribution report. This is my favorite. So this will show you for your whatever class period you have pulled up, and you change your classes right here on this pull down menu. Which kids didn't meet, approached, meets, and masters. I use these to pull small groups. So if I have a group of students that are in did not masters, I'm pulling them more regularly than I'm pulling my kids who meets. And I'm pulling them. You're like, well, what are the rest of my kids doing? I'm pulling them when my other students are working on their personalized learning plans independently. When they're working on that, I'm pulling for small periods at a time different groups of students. Click here on PLP progress. This will show me all my students, what their practice test was, what their performance level was, meets, doesn't meet, masters, and what percentage of their PLP has been completed. Let's go back to our blue button page. Concept boosters. Let's see what students are going to be doing when they're working on their PLP. Okay, reporting category 1. This is what is assigned to students. So if a student scores low on 5A biomolecules, they'll take a pre-test, an assessment. Let's look at that as a short 10-question assessment. After that assessment, they'll watch the TEKS video review.
In this lesson, we will review TEKS B.5a. Relate the functions of different types of biomolecules, including carbohydrates, lipids.
After they watch the video, they will do their vocabulary practice, our traditional vocabulary practice. They must score an 80 on that vocabulary practice in order, they must score an 80 on that vocabulary practice. I click back too far. In order for their assessment 2 to open. Please keep in mind that this assessment 1 and this assessment 2, they're completely unique and different questions from what was included in your main course. Students will be given the opportunity to continue to repeat this vocabulary review until they get to 80, and then we'll open assessment 2. Also notice you can assign these. Now these are automatically assigned to students according to their PLP. However, if you have one of these that you want all of your students to have, you can assign it to all your students. Vocabulary boosters. Vocabulary boosters. These are the same vocabulary practice pieces that we just looked at, but they live here by themselves. So if you wanted to assign this vocabulary booster to a student, group of students, or all your students, you can assign it right here. This particular one, when you assign it, students do it once, you get a grade on it. It is not repeated until they make an 80, unlike the one that we looked at previously. So that is all about your PLP, your personalized learning plan, that your students work on individually and independently. Under Teacher Resources, let's go back to the blue button page. Under Teacher Resources, you will see for every single standard that can be tested this year, there is a lesson, a short, small lesson, because we know that this is your second go-around, right? So let's look at genetics. Let's look at DNA. I'm at 7A. I click on Lesson Guide. This pulls up a lesson, a complete lesson guide, unique and independent from the lesson that you did during Tier 1 instruction for review. You get to decide, does the whole class need this? Look at their data for that class period to see. Does a small group need it? Look at the data from your SC report to see if that class period needs it. So we can see we start with some whole group instruction, some collaborative small group instruction, and then some independent practice. We review the key concepts so that you have the teacher background. If you find something here that you like and you want to share with students, it's as simple as doing a screenshot. This is our engage. It's our whole class instruction. We have our lesson slides, the PowerPoint deck that we use during initial instruction, housed here for your convenience. You can show it directly from the system, or you can download it to save on your computer and make changes. We have a video called DNA. That is your TEKS lesson video. Housed there, again, for your convenience. You may want to re-show that in small group or assign it to students. Then we have our first activity, which is an engage activity. Let's look at the student handout. Identify each components of DNA. Part 2, we're practicing genotypes and phenotypes. Let's see what the teacher instructions look like. Here's your teacher guide, including teacher notes and step-by-step how to do the activity, discussion questions to wrap things up, as well as your keys and the cards that you need to do the activity. Collaborative activity, let's look at the student handout. Looks like we're going to play a game with a die. Let's look at the teacher guide. Teacher guide with instructions, as well as a key. Short, engaging activities to get kids up, thinking, collaborating, and reviewing the content that they most need in order to be successful on STAAR. Then we wrap up with a study guide. This is unique. It's not the same study guide from the course itself that you use in Tier 1 instruction. Of course, we provide you with a key for that as well. And then we recommend that students spend the rest of the time in that class period going back to their personalized learning plan. Let's see what students' personalized learning plans look like in their dashboard. I'm logged in to biology students. If I go to my assignments, this is where they got their assignment for their initial placement test, their benchmark test, if you will. I click on completed assignments because this student has finished hers. Here it is, says completed, and here's the student's score. Once the student submits that, that score generates a PLP and creates a new tab in their Summit base. When they click on My PLP, it's super easy. They just work from top to bottom. You notice that all these are locked. You don't have to unlock them. You don't have to worry about what comes next. The system will keep track of that and unlock them as the student finishes the one before it. So, to summarize, this bottom section is now open. You assign your students the STAR practice assessment. It generates a PLP. Students work on that PLP independently from their students' dashboard. In the meanwhile, you use the appropriate reports under STAR Readiness to allow you to group and regroup students and differentiate according to the data for each class period to utilize the resources under Teacher Resources to implement engaging review activities for your students. I hope you find this as useful as I find it. Thank you so much for allowing us to support you in developing phenomenal learning experiences for your students.